Hi everyone, this is Sanjeev. Today we're gonna spend some time on fertilizers and its technical specification. Because other YouTube channels and other agri related videos talking about just introduction of fertilizers etc. But here I will give you some practical fact about fertilizers and its grade and its uses etc. And it is much useful for the undergraduate students in agriculture as well as for competitive exams like AFO and SSC selection post and other competitive exams like JRF, SRF and ARS etc. Before we're gonna start this topic, subscribe my YouTube channel on Krishi Shiksha and like my page on Facebook, that is Krishi Shiksha. If you want to connect me, then ping me in WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is there. And let me talk about the agenda of the today's class. So agenda for today class is the fertilizer overview. Fertilizer overview, that means what you know about the fertilizers. And next is the type of fertilizers, that is the fertilizer categorizes into different types of classification. And we will know about the fertilizer grade and ratio, that is the gradation of the fertilizer and what will be the ratio for the fertilizers. And next, the order of different nature of fertilizers, that is mostly the decreasing order of fertilizers. And next is the equivalent acidity and basicity of fertilizers etc. And next the method of application, fertilizer application, this is the what will be the doses for the application. And next is the nitrogenous and phosphate and potassic fertilizers etc. And next is the granular water soluble fertilizers and its specifications. Let's touch the topic, the fertilizers. Fertilizer, I have mentioned any material as man or chemical etc. put or in the soil to improve the quality or quantity of the plant growth. Also we know that the fertilizers are generally inorganic in origin and they supply one or more essential plant nutrient in large proportions. Then is the classification of fertilizers, type of fertilizers. As you know that the straight fertilizers means the fertilizers which supply only one major micronutrient, that is the urea. And you know that urea is the 46% of the nitrogen. And next the complex fertilizers, fertilizers which supply two or more of the primary nutrient, that is the DAP, diammonium phosphate, that is an 18:46 at the NP. And next is the mixed fertilizers or compound fertilizers, is the product made by the mixing of two or more micronutrient or fertilizers, macronutrient fertilizers, that is the NPK. Then is the complete fertilizers, fertilizer having all three major nutrients, that is called as the NPK. Then is the low analysis fertilizers, that is the having the less than 25% of the primary nutrient, that is the SSP, single superphosphate. Then is the high analysis fertilizers that contains more than 25% of the total primary nutrient, that is the urea. And urea we know that. Then is the fertilizers grade. Fertilizers grade, it means the guaranteed analysis of this plant nutrient, that is the here I have mentioned the example of NPK 19 and we can give the another example of 18:26:26, that is the NPK. And next is the fertilizer ratio. Fertilizer ratio means the relative percentage of NPK. Then this is the like example NPK is the 10:20:20. Then is the 1:2:1 is the 10:20:20. Here I have given the order of hygroscopy nature of fertilizers and other nature of fertilizers, that is the decreasing order of fertilizers. Please pause the video and write down the notes. And next in the equivalent acidity and basicity of fertilizers, and particularly it's measured in milli equivalent per 100 gram. And it is most important for competitive exams and as well as the theory exams. Next is the method of fertilizer application. How to apply the fertilizers and what will be the methods. The first one is the basal dose. Basal dose is the first dose, that is fertilizer or pesticide at the time of sowing. That is a phosphorus fertilizer we applied mostly in basal dose due to their slow in nature. Then second is the deep placement of fertilizers in paddy only. The ammonical form incorporated in the reduced zone to prevent leaching and volatilization process. I will explain the leaching and volatilization process in the next slide. Then is the starter dose. Starter basically in starter dose is applied in the legume and vegetable seedlings, and at a time of transplanting. At the NPK we applied ratio is the 1:2:1 ratio. Then next is the spilled doses of nitrogenous fertilizers. It is basically increase the nitrogen efficiency. Applied two spilled doses in most of the cereals. If if the crop duration is the 4 to 5 months of crop, and applied three spill doses if the crop is crop duration is the more than 5 months. The next is the top dressing stage. Top dressing is the spreading or broadcasting of fertilizers in the standing crop like rice. And generally NO3 nitrogenous fertilizers are top dressed to the closely spaced crops like wheat, paddy, etc. Then start to the nitrogenous fertilizers. Nitrate fertilizer. This is the nitrogenous fertilizer ultimate source of nitrogen is atmosphere, and immediate and important source of nitrogen is organic matter. Then nitrate fertilizer is one of the fertilizer of nitrogenous fertilizer that is the highly mobile in soil, suitable for top dressing, and it is a basic residual in nature. And most important part is the leaching and denitrification loss is high. What is the denitrification? It is the loss of gaseous form of nitrogen by biological reduction of NO3 plus and NO2 minus. That means that is known as denitrification. As we know, the denitrifying bacteria is the Pseudomonas and Bacillus. Then is the leaching. What is the leaching loss? It is mostly of nitrate fertilizers, and it is mostly occurred in humid area. And then the examples of some nitrate fertilizers is that is the 16% sodium nitrate, that is 16% N, good for acidic soil. Calcium nitrate and potassium nitrate is the KNO3. The next is the ammonical fertilizers. It's the less leaching but readily soluble in soil, and it is suitable for waterlogged soil, and it is the acidic residual nature, but the nitrate fertilizer was basic residual in nature. And next is the volatilization and denitrification losses are more. When the volatilization denitrification losses are more, it is occur when repeated higher pH. When higher pH is occur, then denitrification volatilization process will be start. Then let's talk about the examples of ammonical fertilizers. That is one is the ammonium sulfate, the NH4SO4, that contain 20.6% nitrogen and 24.5% sulfur, and it is the most suitable for paddy, tea, groundnut and sugarcane, these type of crops. And next is the ammonium chloride, NH4Cl minus, and it contains 25.5% of N, and it is a being acidic residual nature, and it is extensively used in paddy crops. And other examples are already given. And one of the most important is the volatilization. What is volatilization? Volatilization is the actually the nitrogen lost in the form of NH3 in alkaline medium, that is called the volatilization. And it is when happened, that is when pH is more than 8. And volatilization actually increases the pore drainage, example in rice field, and etc. Here one most important questions I missed from the next slide, that is the maximum consumption of N and P in the state is Uttar Pradesh, that is UP. Then third is the ammonical nitrate fertilizers, that is also known as the both NH4 plus and NO3 minus N fertilizers. That is that examples of ammonical nitrate fertilizers is the ammonium nitrate, that is the NH4 plus NO3 minus. It contains 33% of N, that is the half of ammonium form and half of nitrate form. and it is hygroscopic nature. What is hygroscopic nature? Hygroscopic means the tending to absorb moisture from the air, and it is the explosive fertilizers. And next is the calcium ammonium nitrate, the CAN, and it is commonly known as the Kisan card, and it is contain 26% of N, and also it is neutral in nature. And CAN and ASN is the same amount of nitrogen, and is the same the uses are the same. And next is the amide fertilizers. Amide fertilizers, it is actually of two types. There is one is the organic form, and another is the inorganic form. Organic form is the urea. As we know that the urea is the 46% of nitrogen, and it is the cheapest source of nitrogen, and also most commonly used nitrogen fertilizer in India. And it also is hygroscopic, therefore produced in granular or pellet form, and also it acidic in residual. It is actually continuous use of urea for several years result reduced soil pH. If you continue use, then it will be reduce the soil pH. And the neem coated area, and it is actually being slow release proportion, it increases the nitrogen use efficiency. Then is the inorganic form. The inorganic form is the calcium cyanamide, that is a 21% nitrogen. It is actually neither import or nor manufactured in India. And analyzing process for determination of nitrogen, available nitrogen, is alkaline paramanganate method. That is the one of the most important question. Then is the phosphate fertilizer. Phosphate fertilizer is categorized into the three types, that is the water soluble fertilizers, citrate soluble fertilizers, and third is the water insoluble fertilizers. Yeah, first we will see the water soluble fertilizer, that is the SSP, that is the single superphosphate. It is the 16% P, 19% calcium, and 12% S. That is the deficiency, that is the not having N and K. And that is the DSP, then TSP, and that is the DAP, that is DAP, all know that diammonium phosphate. And it is the MAP is the new grade P fertilizer, that is the monoammonium phosphate. Then next is the soluble P fertilizer, it is the dicalcium phosphate, and the 30 to 40% of the P2O5. And next is the basic slag, and 14 to 18% of P. And next is the water insoluble P fertilizer. The examples are rock phosphate. Rock phosphate actually basically used for the acid soil reclamation. It is mostly used. And the raw bone meal is a 20 to 25% P, and steamed bone meal is the 20 to 30% P2O5. And here I have mentioned the atomic weight of the C, H, O, N, P, K, etc. And the main thing is the phosphate fertilizer conversion factors. It's the most important, and actually it comes in many competitive exams. That is the P to P2O5 is 2.29%, and P2O5 to P is the 0.44 or 0.43% percent. And please pause the video and write down the notes. Then next is the potassic fertilizers, and most important point is the highest use of potassic fertilizer in the state is Maharashtra. Then also it is the examples of potassic fertilizer is KCl or MOP. KCl means the potassium chloride, MOP means muriate of potash. And next is the K2S for potassium sulfate, and KNO3 potassium nitrate. We will discuss the one by one. That is the MOP. MOP is the 0060. That is the NPK 0060. That is 16%, 60% of K2O. And it is actually the most common and cheap fertilizer among potassic fertilizers. And it is suitable for acidic heavy soils, but not for alkaline soils. And actually it is should not be used in sugar crops, because the accumulation of sugar is affected due to chlorine ion present in the fertilizers. And actually higher content of chlorine ion reduce the burning quality of tobacco. and burning quality of tobacco and starch content in solanaceous crop. In this crop should be used K2SO4 and KNO3 instead of KCl. Then is the K2SO4, the potassium sulfate. Potassium sulfate is the actually approximately 50% of K and 17.5% of S, and S is needed for plant growth. And using sugar corn, sugar beet, tobacco, tomato, potato, anything we can use. And next is the KNO3, potassium nitrate. Potassium nitrate is the 44% of K2O, 13% of AN, and it is also known as the salt petre or nitrate. It is the excellent source of potassium nitrogen, and it is actually mainly used for fruit trees, tobacco, and vegetables. Here I have also mentioned the conversion factor for K. It is a K to K2O is the 1.2%, and K2O to K is the 0.83%. It is most important for the competitive exam. Then we come to the main topic is the fertilizers and its technical specification. First I will discuss the common fertilizer is the Grumor 2828 that is the NPK, and it is the N and P ratio is the 1:1 ratio. And amongst 28% of nitrogen, 19% of nitrogen is in urea form, and 9% is the ammonium form. And actually this is the coated coating barrier is the ammonium phosphate barrier. And what is the coating barrier? Coating barrier means the ammonium phosphate, and also is the neem coated area, and it is a modified form of super granules. And so that in the only or purpose of groomer, the coated area is the ammonium phosphate. And among the 28% of phosphorus, 25.2% is the water soluble form, and it is very much essential for the plant. And the next is the that is a 100% of nutrient, that is the secondary nutrient, and micronutrient are also available, like sulfur, calcium, iron, etc. And it is the ideal complex fertilizer plus all crops, and it is mostly used for the basal application, and it is the most suitable crops like paddy, cotton, chilies, etc. And the next is the 2020-013. Here is the NPKS. It is the ammonium phosphate sulfate. Here is the nitrogen phosphorus phosphate ratio is the 1:1. N and P ratio is the 1:1. And among the 20% of the nitrogen, 90% of the nitrogen is present in the ammonical form, and rest in the amide form. And the 20% of phosphorus, 85% of the present in water soluble form. And among the sulfur, that is the 15% of sulfur actually. And if sulfur content is high, that improves the milling and baking quality of the cereals. It is mostly used for cereals and vegetable crops. And 2020-013 is the best fertilizer for oil seed crops and pulses. And it is granular in nature, and it is easily applied by broadcasting, placement, or drilling. It is a method of application process. And one of the other popular fertilizer is the diammonium phosphate, that is DAP 18460. And this is the highest nutrient content. That means if we calculate that together, 18 plus 46, that is the it contain highest nutrient content, that is the 64%. And the N and P available is the 1:2.5 ratio, and it contain 18% nitrogen, 46% phosphorus, and also available the 2% sulfur. And among the 18% of nitrogen, ammonical nitrogen is present is 15.5%. And it is available the phosphorus availability. Most of the phosphorus nutrient is also in water soluble form. That means among the 46% of phosphorus, 41.6% is the water soluble form, and it is available to the plant immediately after the application. And it is the best for basal fertilizers, and it can use the for the all crops, and it is suitable for all type of soil. The next is the NPK 10 26 26 is in the term we called as the Sufola. That is also in 7% nitrogen is the ammonical form among the 10%, and among the 26% of phosphorus, 22% in the water soluble form, and enter 26% of the potash, it is available in the water soluble form. It is if we if we adding the 3 NPK, that is 62% of the highest constituent of NPK, and it is a 1:1 ratio of P and K, and it is more suitable for sugarcane and potato cultivation, and it is a less time required when labor is required. It is actually rarely used in the India. It is the NPK 12 32 16. It if we together that NPK, then it is the highest total nutrient, that is the 60%, and also nitrogen is the ammonical form. It is the ammonium sulfate form, and P and K also in the water soluble form, and P and K nutrient ratio is a 2:1, and it is mostly used for basal application, and it is also have the 2% sulfur, and sulfur mostly required for the vegetable crops and cereals, that is the onion, tobacco, cabbage, tomato, etc., and it is helps in greater root penetration because the phosphorus level is high. And then is the muriate of potash. If we know that the muriate of potash MOP 0060, that is the also known as the potassium chloride, and it is the main feature is the entire potash is in water soluble form, and it improves the quality of produce apart from the increasing yield, and it is actually the increased strength of crops to improve the resistance against the pests and diseases, and it is also an important point in the counteract ill effect of over application of nitrogen, and it provides strength to stem and develop the root growth, and it also the highest content of the phosphatic fertilizers. It improves the growth of the plant, and then improves nitrogen phosphorus uptake, and essential for grain filling and grain weight. uh, One of the also most important is a single superphosphate, that is the that contains the 16% phosphorus, 11% sulfur, and 19% calcium. It's the absence of nitrogen, potassium. It is mostly applied for the dry land areas, and it increases actually productivity, and increases oil content in oilseed crops like groundnut, sunflower. It is sucrose content, increases the sucrose content in sugarcane, increases the flour and taste in vegetables, and due to calcium present in the product, in this product, the pod development of groundnut and pulses increases, and the most effective source of sulfur among the sulfur containing fertilizers. Then next is the NPK 14 35 14. It is mostly used in South India, in our country. There is the if we together the NPK, then it contain the highest total nutrient content is 63%. Then among the 14% of nitrogen, entire nitrogen is in ammonical form, and the 35% of the phosphorus, 29% is the water soluble form, and entire 14% of potash is also available in water soluble form, and it is high in phosphorus content, and also we know that if high in phosphorus content, then root penetration is will be good for the plant, and it is best for almost all kind of crops. It is a groundnut, chili, potato, etc., but it is most important part is the not suitable for tobacco and grapes, and the NPK ratio is the 1:2.5:1, and it is the combination that's good for the basal application to all crops, and it is 100% nutrient containing material, having secondary and micronutrient like sulfur, calcium, magnesium, and iron. Then next is the water soluble fertilizer or spray for foliar application. As we know that the NPK 19 19 19 or 20 20 20 is used for the foliar application, It is the most suitable formula to enhance the vegetative growth, and also it is used for the early growth stages. It is contain actually balanced ratio of the NPK, and it is helped branching, flowering. It is mostly used in the seedling stage, and it is also the micronutrient like boron, iron, zinc, copper, etc. And it is free from chloride, and it is compatible with almost all the crop protection product and fungicide also. And the next is the NPK 13045, and it is actually mostly in it is flowering and fruiting booster. And the main thing is the it was applied in the 60 days of the crop in a long duration crop like 5 to 6 months. After the 60 month, it is the application of dose is applied. That is a satisfied hidden hunger of potash, and a uniform and early maturity of the crops. And actually it improves shape and size of the fruits or seeds with shining quality, high purity and low salt index, and high solubility. It is a volatile in nature, easy to apply with no nitrogen losses to the atmosphere. The next is the NPK 0050. Due to high content of potassic fertilizer, water soluble form, that is 50% of potassium, the growth of the plant will be increased. And it is the most effective source of potassium to chloride sensitive fruit crops. And main feature is the low salt index and non-hygroscopic, and the absence of chloride. It improves the shining quality of the crops. And it is a most effective source for the crops like the fruits, vine, tobacco, potato, vegetables, etc. Then next is also available in water soluble form, that is the calcium nitrate. It is 100% water soluble fertilizer. It contains 15.5% nitrogen and 18.8% calcium. And it improves the strength of cell wall and promote the root and shoot growth, and it correct the calcium deficiency. And it improves the quality and yield of produce, and reduce the post harvest losses in like in storage, when in storage condition of the vegetables, fruits and flowers, etc. And then other one is the monoammonium phosphate, is the new grade fertilizer, that is the MAP 12610. That is the NNP ratio. It is the 100% water soluble fertilizers, and containing 12% is the N, 61% is the P. It is a low pH, that maintain the 4 to 4.5. It is a free of chloride, and it is used in a vegetable growth. It is act as a flowering booster, and induces more number of flowering and fruiting process, improve the shelf life. And it is a cost effective when we used for the foliar spray. And next in the mono potassium phosphate, it is the MKP. It is also available in India. That is the 05234. It's the low salt index, and improves the food quality, and promote accumulation of the starch and sugars, and controls the powdery and downy mildew disease, and reddening of leaves, etc. And helpful in mango crops, and grapes, vegetables, flowers, etc. It is also available. Thank you. All the best, all for your upcoming exam. Best of luck.